The process to upgrade to Ubuntu 26.04 is simple. You ensure that notify me of a new Ubuntu LTS version is selected, and then you run the software updater, install any pending updates, and see if it notifies you about the availability of Ubuntu 26.04. If you don't see it, you can run the update manager with option D, which should force it to show you the option to upgrade to 26.04. Click the upgrade option, follow the procedure, and you will have Ubuntu 26.04. Things are usually this simple, but you may still have questions. Questions like, is it safe to upgrade? Will you lose your existing data? Will your system be as it is as it was before? Will you be able to use your favorite applications, favorite software as you were using them before? I will answer all of these questions and also demonstrate the detailed process of upgrading to Ubuntu 26.04 LTS. I will also demonstrate how I upgraded from an unsupported Ubuntu version to 26.04. But before I show all these to you, let me answer some of the questions first. First thing to keep in mind is that you cannot downgrade to the previous version. This is an important factor. There is no downgrade button. If you want to go back to the previous version, you will have to do a fresh installation. Some people make time shift backup, but personally, I'm not sure if it can 100% guarantee restoring the older version. So make up your mind and take decision accordingly. Also, you cannot upgrade offline. The upgrade process downloads a lot of packages, and for that, you need a stable internet connection. If your connection is unreliable, that's a risk. In such cases, it is safer to upgrade when network is stable. Or you can use a fresh ISO and install Ubuntu 26.04 from scratch. Should you upgrade immediately as soon as you see the option to upgrade to 26.04? Well, short answer is not always. Well, here is the thing. Ubuntu itself rolls out the update gradually. Not everyone gets immediately notified about 26.04 availability. Why? Because new releases often have small bugs that eventually get fixed, with quick updates. But if this is your primary system and you rely on it for important work, it is better to wait for a maybe for a week or a month. In fact, if you want to be more cautious, wait for the first point release of 26.04. That should come around 1 or 2 months after the release of Ubuntu 26.04. By this time, most of the pressing or most of the critical bugs would have been fixed, and you can safely and more securely upgrade to 26.04 without worrying too much about the broken system. So, waiting is for people who don't like surprise bugs or changes. But if you're someone who like tasting new features or this is a secondary machine, you can go ahead and upgrade to 26.04. Your PPAs and third party repositories are certainly worth watching because this is where things actually change or could trouble you a little. So, during upgrades, all PPAs and external repositories are disabled automatically. Some software may not be compatible immediately, so this is why the external repositories are disabled. If you are heavily dependent on an application or software which is crucial for your work, please ensure that it can be installed in Ubuntu 26.04 before you decide to upgrade. And after upgrading, note that you need to re-enable the external repositories since some repositories or PPA might not be available for the new version. Enabling them might result in seeing update errors, but they can be fixed. You might even need to reinstall some of your favorite application using some other method. So the bottom line is, if you find your favorite application missing after upgrade, look for the repositories, see if they are enabled, and if they are not, re-enable them or reinstall them. What should you do before upgrading? This is important, of course. First, back up your data. See, upgrades are simple and quite straightforward, and your system and data remains as it is. But also, in my 17 years of using Ubuntu, I never had an instance of Ubuntu upgrade messing up my system. But still, I don't trust computers blindly. If it is my main system and there is data on the system that I cannot afford to lose, I make a backup. Now, there are two kinds of backup: system level backup with time shift and data backup. For data backup, I copy the important data on an external disk, like the external SSDs. At minimum, have content from your home directory, important configs, or any custom scripts or projects that you have, copy them on an external disk. Things usually don't go wrong with version upgrades, but you should always plan for the worst. So always make a backup. Now let me show the demo of upgrading Ubuntu LTS version 24.04 to 26.04 LTS. So when you hit the upgrade button, upgrade option, it goes through a series of steps. First, it shows you the release notes. Uninteresting for most people, so hit the upgrade button once again. Now it downloads the release upgrade tool. Wait for it to complete. Next, it adds up new repository to get the packages for Ubuntu 26.04 Resolute Raccoon version. At this point, if it sees some additional software installed from third-party repositories, it should warn you about it. I already discussed it earlier. Continue with the upgrade and it shows how many new packages will be installed, how many existing packages will be upgraded, and how many existing packages are no longer needed. Normal people would go for start upgrade. Your lock screen will be disabled so that the upgrade process is not disturbed. It will be a good idea to have your laptop plugged in if you are using a laptop. So it starts getting the new packages. This step will take time depending upon your network speed as well as the mirror from where it is downloading the packages from. After it downloads all the required packages, it starts installing them. Some running services need to be restarted. So instead of being bothered by prompts for each service, you can go for the option to restart service on its own. Note that installing the packages take time as well. If you see some unusual masses, go with what's recommended by Ubuntu. For example, in this demo that was done in a virtual machine, it asked for grep configuration, and I opted for what was suggested by Ubuntu. Once the package installation steps completes, you will be asked what shall be done with the packages that are no longer needed. I choose to remove them. I mean, why keep them in the system when they are not needed? So once the older packages are removed, you are asked to restart the system. When the system starts this time, you will be in Ubuntu 26.04. And that's for upgrading Ubuntu 24.04 LTS, which will be supported till 2029. What about upgrading an unsupported Ubuntu version to 26.04? That is doable, but it's a long process. Actually, you have to repeat the process for different versions. Let me show it to you in action. So on my old Dell XPS laptop, I had Ubuntu 24.10 installed that I have not used for more than a year. It reached end of life in July 2025. So when I logged in, I could see that Brave browser won't even upgrade. Firefox is several versions behind the current version. Ideally, I would prefer to do a fresh installation, but I chose to upgrade. It gave me the option to upgrade to 25.10 first, and the screen recording somehow got messed up, but you should be able to understand the flow anyways because it's pretty much similar to what you saw earlier. So it disables the lock screen, disables external repositories, downloads the packages, shows what packages will be upgraded or removed, and then installs them. The entire process took around 45 minutes for me. That's a long time. But well, at least I could upgrade the system. So when I restarted the system, I was in Ubuntu 25.10. Here, I updated the system and it did not show that Ubuntu 26.04 was available. So I forced it to look for the new development release with option T. And then I had the option to upgrade to 26.04. And this process was exactly the same as you have seen before. Nothing additional here. And after around 45 minutes again, I upgraded successfully to 26.04 and rebooted into this new version. So the entire process was repeated like twice, and it obviously took twice the amount of a normal upgrade. But as I said, personally, I would prefer doing a fresh installation here as the system feels more fresh and fluid after fresh install. It's just my it's just my feeling that system starts to feel bloated after several round of version upgrades over the years. But that's just my thinking. Go with what you would prefer. So you have seen the detailed process. Now, questions against what could go wrong during the upgrade? Well, not much, but there are definitely a few things to watch out for. For example, if you're using laptop, keep the power plugged in because you don't want the upgrade process to be interrupted. And of course, don't leave the upgrade midway and turn off the computer, especially not when it has started to install the packages. You don't want to take those kind of risks. You may end up with broken PPAs and external repositories, but those things can be handled easily. I mean, I would say easily, but well, uh, if you are new with some effort, it can be handled. Also, some unsupported software may not be available in a new release. Most of these are fixable with updates or reinstalling the packages. Serious issues are rare, but you have backups, so backups will protect you in those cases. Another question is, should you do a clean installation or should you upgrade? The thing is, Ubuntu upgrades are designed to be safe and seamless, so you don't have to worry about that. But if you have to do multiple version upgrades, a clean installation would be a better choice. And if you're doing a clean installation, means you are freshly installing your system, make sure that you have all the important data backed up on an external disk. Ubuntu upgrades have come a long way. They are reliable, mostly painless, and convenient. But the key is that you shouldn't necessarily rush to upgrade. You should always back up properly. And you should also understand your setup and your need. If you need a particular piece of software, make sure that it is available in the new version. So whether you upgrade today or a few weeks later, Ubuntu 26 point is definitely a release worth checking out. If you still have questions about the upgrade procedure, please drop them in the comments. And if you find this video helpful, you know what to do. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.